So welcome everybody. Today's PD session is very exciting and we will start right now. My name is Mary Rotundo and I am an instructional designer here at the Center for eLearning at FAU. So today's topic is teamwork and collaboration in professional settings. And I'm pretty excited to have a very, very special guest with us today, Dr. Joanne Bamdes, who is the Director of FAU's Office for Interprofessional Education. And she's here today because she has been a close partner with the Center for eLearning in creating several courses in the program for interprofessional education, and also because he would like to share with us what has been her experience in leading her students into learning to collaborate and work together as a team. So today we're going to start with talking and exploring both the challenges and the rewards of teamwork, team efforts. She has been very open in sharing these with me, and we're going to share them in turn with you today. We're going to examine the role of change in the educational and professional settings. Change is the only constant in the universe, a very wise person said, and education is not the exception. And then towards the end, we will determine the transferal aspect of teamwork. This is going to be our takeaway today. So I'm going to give you a brief background of why we're here today. Like I said, Dr. Bamdes has partnered with me for probably more than a year in creating a couple of her online classes. And and this is the week where in e-certification we are doing group work. So as we were preparing for this presentation, we, the professional development team, decided we would love to have her come and share with us. So then 2 weeks ago, when we were preparing for this session, she and I had a very interesting conversation. It was mid-semester, and she realized that her students were facing several challenges for an assignment that they were supposed to be doing. So that gave us the perfect scenario for our conversation today, which we really hope is a conversation. We will open the mics towards the end, and we will definitely ask you for your input. But right now, we're going to hear from our amazing Dr. Joanne Bamdes. Dr. Bamdes, welcome.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me, Mary?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Well, welcome to all of you that are here. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about my frustration, my students' frustration, and the fantastic rewards in creating a course with several courses with Mary as the instructional designer, and how we have communicated and perfected our communication skills so we can create a much better course for the students. So thank you for the introduction. I really appreciate it. I hope I can live up to that. But you make it so much easier actually having an instructional designer that you can email or Skype with in order to be able to kind of work out the kinks as we go along. And that's actually one of the rewards for moving along and creating a course, particularly with teamwork, because Mary and I are a team. So these interprofessional education competencies that I incorporate into my classes, we have to understand each other's role and responsibility, and there's a value system or framework in which we live and that we ask our students to live. And then communication, teamwork, and collaboration are all part of what we try to do with the students. We try to look at the students. I ask the students not to think of themselves so much as students, but as learners that are preparing themselves in a safe, psychologically sound environment before they actually go out into the quote-unquote real world. So through the activities that Mary and I have designed for them, this has made this a safe environment for them to make some mistakes and to learn a great deal. And later on in this professional development, I'll show you some of this learning from 2 of the courses from my students, so you can see some real work here, and we can take a look at that together. So, of course, those of you that have been designing courses, or if you haven't yet, let me just tell you, it's a bumpy road. I often think of a poet in Charles Dickens in one of his stories talking about a fog, and that's actually what happens in a course. We start off together kind of in a fog. You know, I create the course, this one that I'm working on right now, in about 9 months. In fact, I think my baby came out faster than the course did. But in any case, there's a huge fog because it's all new learning materials, particularly for the College of Science students that I work with. So, you know, it's not perfect. I tried to construct a course for them with new materials and take it step by step. So what we've created is a case development with several different processes. So in the beginning, we ask them to do a Google document, and they have difficulties with that. They may not have been on Canvas before. They may not have opened up a Google Doc within an FAU site. And then when we put them into teams working with 2 or 3 other people, of course they're going to have difficulties because people are coming in with different schedules. They may have 5 or 6 classes that they're navigating on Canvas as well. So having empathy for that, sharing actually with the students that you're doing that as well, and showing them that you're working full-time just like they are, or working 2 part-time jobs, that you have a life, and listening to them, their student introductions, but also giving them an introduction into yourself and your life. It really helps with those beginning steps to lift some of that fog. So sharing some of these best practices and some of these situations with you, this is what I'd like to do today. And then, of course, I want to hear from you and learn from you as well, because for me, I'm learning from my students as much as they're learning from me. I learn from Mary and everybody here at the Center for eLearn. I'm constantly in here asking for advice and technical support. So I know if I'm asking, the students are asking as well. So it's okay. We're a collaborative team. And right then and there, when you're starting a course, you need to be aware of that, because teaching has changed. The students have changed. You may have a baby boomer or several in your class, along with millennials and latchkey kids. So they're coming from different learning spaces, and we have to know quite a bit about that. So the opportunities and benefits for working together as a team and creating courses that have case development, for example, where you're taking step by step and you're doing new things, doing it together, the students can learn together in that environment. And so by taking kind of slow in the beginning, step by step, will be very, very helpful. And then I kind of speed up a little bit after the midterm, after everybody has an opportunity to look to see where the growth is. Mm-hmm. And at midterm, this is where you can see a lot of the fog starting to drop away. The grades are getting better, and so on. So it's really worth it. I really find that I have to think about the reward from semester to semester because the learning is transformational. It's significant and transformational, and it's much more rewarding, particularly when a student comes back to me who's never done research before and has said to me, oh, I just applied for a research position after I graduate. And this is a student in the beginning who came to my office crying because she didn't understand something, or her grade was a 93 instead of a 94. So these kinds of things, that's what you have to look at this point is throughout the course is you've got to look at the outcomes, look at the end result, but also look at the transformation through those modules and be there for them during that time. So you have to be willing to not only talk and instruct, but also to listen to them. So yesterday, for example, I think I got, 50 emails from students on a Sunday while I was grading. So, but you have to be willing to get back to them and give them feedback and create grading rubrics and so on, so they can see where their strengths and weaknesses are. So I really enjoy that aspect of the course as well. So, this is not something that you can learn in one course or developing one course. This is something that you'll see over time. So, you have to be motivated. You have to be aware psychologically of what the students are going through. When some of the students fail, it's not that they're failing, we need to give them feedback and just keep encouraging them and motivating them forward. So again, there's a huge reward at the end and throughout. And so being aware of this, students are changing, you're changing while you're creating. But, you don't have to go it alone. We're not in silos anymore. Professional education is about collaboration, and that's why having your Center for eLearning is so important, because you don't have to do anything alone. You can always reach out, and somebody will be there for you. So what's really important about teamwork is really preparing students once they graduate to go out into the real world. My philosophy is that if you can communicate and act like a team in an online environment, you can communicate anywhere, because it's really hard and it takes time. And so there's a process that students need to go through, and that begins with a team charter that we'll talk about in just a second. But we don't expect for you or your students to be perfect. Just remember, you're always learning. We're lifelong learners. I think it was Michelangelo that said, "I'm still learning." So, Mary, I
Yes.
think if you have any other points to make, or we want to have any comments before we go on to the examples, it's up to you.
Yes, I just wanted to comment on the difference these 2 weeks have made. When we first talked, you were in the middle of that fog. You and your students were having a moment, right? There was
Yes.
a lot of frustration. And 2 weeks later, I saw it on Friday. A message from you to your students, congratulating them because you're seeing wonderful progress in the use of resources, the way they're using the library resources, their annotated bibliographies. It's only halfway. We're only halfway through the semester, and they're already creating awesome
Products.
Products. Thank you. With their annotated bibliographies, which in itself is a great reward already. So I just wanted to point out that perseverance and being willing to and open to listen to your students and to be there for your students and providing that really valuable feedback that we are going to do this together. You are not alone. Um, it's actually paving the road for your students to succeed. And I just wanted, before we go into the examples, because your examples are incredible.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'll tell my students.
I just wanted to say that I was a witness to this because I'm seeing it happen in front of my very eyes. So I would say, for all the trouble, for all the time, I feel that it is absolutely worth it. So do you want to go ahead and show some samples of what students have done in your classes?
Sure. This was my first time ever using my media site. So this is something I'm talking about. I came to the center last week, and Mikhail helped me with my media site. And yesterday I prepared this presentation for all of you to show you some of the examples of creating a team project and some of the things that come out of that project. So if we could show that, Mary, it's about 9 minutes, and then we can kind of sum up and really leave some time for our attendees today to speak.
Absolutely. So Danny will show that for us.
Thank you, Denny.
At the beginning of the semester, the students have a really difficult time understanding that they're going to be in a group assignment working with at least 3 other students within Canvas. So one of the first things that I do is I have them create a team charter. And as you can see here, this is what the beginning of most of these team charters look like. The name with 1 sentence. And I encourage them later on to support everything that they say on this team charter. And so they need to fill out what their skills are, what their strengths are, what their goals and barriers are, and so on. And that this charter develops throughout the semester. And this is I'm trying to locate the next file to show you what the end result is for a final charter. So towards the end of the semester, they have all their names, their information, and so on. And this is the kind of document that they create together and that they share with one another. This was an exemplary team that I had in fall in 2016, and all of the individuals agreed that I could use their materials and their name as examples of effective team management and so on. So as you can see, there's creativity here, there's development, and so on, and this team was really, really effective in everything that they did. So one of the other assignments that these students have is that they need to create a case project together. So they start with an annotated bibliography, and at the beginning they have no clue as to what this needs to be done, how these need to be done. They don't understand APA, they don't know how to do research in the library, and they don't know how to alphabetize when I tell them to alphabetize. And so having them in teams is one way in which they can communicate and also to help one another with these different assignments that they have. But as you can see here, this is a really nice example, even though it has several errors in it, of how these undergraduate science students are doing things that they had never done before they got into the course. So one of the other things, going back to what the teams do, is we have a discussion, and I set up a Google Doc for them, or actually they're supposed to set up the Google Doc for themselves. Sometimes they have a problem with this and I have to set it up for them, I have to give them examples and things that they can look at in order to be able to really understand what it is that they're supposed to be doing. So here you can see where they're trying to narrow down to a specific disease that they want to discover in the for their research topic. So they're asking each other's questions and so on, and they're also looking at the research from the annotated bibliography and sharing that, and they're putting in facts and information, and they're supposed to be citing their sources in order to be able to make a strong argument for why they should go one way or the other in narrowing down this topic. In this case, they had decided to interview caretakers for this brief research study. It was a qualitative case study. So this is one way in which they develop their communication skills, interprofessional communication skills, and another way that they come together as a team is you can see from this PowerPoint presentation that this team, which was the most effective team from my fall 2016 class, they actually introduced themselves again, and they took a lot of pride here in actually showing what they learned and teaching back to the other teams their development of their study in this area. So you can see here that they applied what they were learning about interprofessional education and collaborative practice competencies, and they were charged with creating a case study, and each one of them as an individual has to work towards this team assignment. So they're supposed to upload their own case studies and then have a discussion as to which one they want to use, what do they want to put in, and so this case study is really developed during the course of the course, during the time through the course. So they can be as creative as they want to be. These are assignments which they internalize, and they become part of the synergy of the whole team practice. And one of the important parts for the teams for the courses that I teach in interprofessional education is getting them to see themselves not as a student so much as seeing themselves in the career in which they want to be in the future. So this is a safe place for them to be able to experiment and practice and learn about each other from, with, and about each other before they actually go out into the real world. And these are some of the roles that the individuals that work together in this team developed: social worker, doctor, and also a transporter. One of these students was actually a transporter. So this is what they developed in their final team presentation, working together, and then they evaluated themselves in with a peer and self-assessment. So one of the other things that I have them do throughout the course is to have a journal. And this is an example of one of the journal entries. This was the first journal entry from one of my top students in this course. And Heather, you can see here what kind of writing, what were some of the problems, the grammatical, fonts, and those kinds of things. And then this was her final journal assignment. She was one of the most creative in the entire class and really helped with the team presentation as well. So working with all of the materials throughout the course and so on, and she got creative and actually put this into a newsletter type instrument. So these are the materials that the students in a couple of my classes have worked towards assignments and able to learn to work together in an environment in which they are not meeting face to face. It's discouraged, as a matter of fact, and that they need to be able in this environment to be able to communicate with one another. And I tell them that if you can communicate in an online environment, you can communicate with anybody anywhere. And I'm very proud of the rewards that I get from the students when they're finishing up these assignments, because they really put a lot of work in it, and they really deserve the grade that they get when they are finished. So these are just some samples from my courses, and I hope this will encourage you to actually do some team assignments like this. Yes, it's a bumpy ride. There are challenges along the way. There's a lot of feedback to give, a lot of emails to answer, but the reward far outweighs all of that difficulty at the beginning of the course. So thank you.
Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that amazing sample from your classes.
My pleasure.
So we would like to hear now from our attendees. We have a space where we can actually share what today's takeaway is for each of you personally. We have discussed not only the challenges, but also the benefits and the rewards for your students. So what are you taking away with you today? What is the one thing from today's dialogue that you would like to apply or transfer to your own situations, your own students, your own teaching practice? So we're going to give it a few minutes on our Padlet document, which Danny will open for us. The link will be in the chat for everybody to contribute, and we'll get back together in a couple minutes. So the question on again is the one aspect that we would like to transfer to our own teaching practice, and this would be on the Padlet. When I saw it, I was also very impressed. Thank you, Kathy.
Students rock.
Yes.
So, Kathy, is there something that you can take from today's presentation and that you want to use? And you're really right about teacher interaction and encouragement. It's so important. And sometimes we get in the zone of doing what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just always about us. Come on, you lurkers. I know you're out there. You want to say something. I can feel it. I can feel it. Mary, what do we need to do to encourage it?
Giveaways. Nicola.
Oh, yes. One day is overwhelming. Oh, what's that? Learner what? You'd be surprised how fast I get through 60 emails. It takes a lot of really expertise in typing.
And I bet you a lot of the answers are the same, right? By the time you've gone through a few, you know exactly what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good idea there, the learner Q&A. And I do put one up. I actually have a, what questions do you have in the course? And then anything personal, of course, is directed to me. But, having a Q&A up there is very helpful. But one of the problems is students don't always read it and ask the same question again. So I just direct them back to the discussion board. Yeah, that's been very effective. It's helped a little bit.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
I got permission to talk.
Are you Kathy?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Thank you for your input there.
Sure. I'm an instructional designer as well, and just really love what I'm hearing.
Oh, nice.
I'm not sure if we had 12 people in here, and we still do, so I'm not sure if it's a matter of folks not knowing what to do, or if sometimes people step away and stuff too.
Yeah. Sometimes they're just lurking.
Yeah.
You go, oh, let everybody else talk first.
Right. Well, and and this WebEx is very new to all of us, so we might be a little
okay.
overwhelmed with it. But yeah,
yeah, I agree with you on the Q&A. I put that in my last 2 courses, and it has helped some. But I think the generation of student that we have now, they want to ask questions versus reading. So I'm thinking that I need to figure out a new way. In fact, I've been thinking about this for a while. So do you have any suggestions as to how to address that? Because there are students, they will, rather than read something, they would just feel no compunction against emailing professor and asking the question.
well, there's the audio tool in Canvas, which you can also answer with your voice, and possibly having office hours via WebEx chat. You know, the students can, because we want to protect the time of the instructors, and if one of the major concerns that we've had from professors is, I don't want to answer 60 emails a day.
Right,
you know,
right.
if it was a face-to-face course, I wouldn't answer everybody's individual question.
Exactly,
you know.
yeah.
So the
That's a good
idea
point.
of maybe having online office hours that are mirrored the office hours that a face-to-face instructor would have, and you're available on WebEx, which you can do my WebEx, and students can come in at their convenience. You can also have them schedule their hours through the tool in Canvas, that they can, you can put up what hours you're available, and they can choose those times if they want conference time.
Yeah, I haven't used that technology yet. I don't have office hours. I actually encourage and make appointments. So I've met at least 3/4 of my students coming into the office.
Right. Yeah. And you know, I took my master's degree in a fully online program, which was fabulous. And my professors generally had a couple times a semester a chat that was a synchronous chat that wasn't required, but it was encouraged to come on in, and we had a chance to see each other's faces and have that interaction with our teacher as well, which was kind of cool.
Oh, that's great. Well, it's something else I need to learn. Thank you very much. I appreciate those tips. That's one of the things we wanted to put up on the next slide after this one, is the best practices. So that's great. Thanks,
Thank
Kathy.
you. Oh, and David is here with us.
Yeah, David's typing up something for us. Can David talk? Can he talk about the mixed results? Can we unmute him?
I'm here.
Hey.
Oh, hi.
Hi, David.
Hi. How are you doing? I'm not on an online course, but I'm using Canvas with my students in kind of a hybrid manner. And what I tried recently to do is use the self and peer assessment in a group project. And I found what I'd suggest is mixed results. In other words, some students seem to, on a scale of 1 to 4, give everyone else in the group a 4. And that seemed to be a mutual award that they were doing. And then other students were very detailed about what this one was doing and what that one was doing. And so I'm not quite sure yet how to use these assessments in terms, except for as evidence of what might really have been going on in the group dynamics.
Yeah, I've used this and I've experimented with it, and I found them effective, particularly with the students that don't pull their own weight. They normally get a lower rating, and I can see that across the course, the people who are the slackers or the late to come to the course, that kind of thing. So the self and the peer reviews actually show I'm seeing an honesty in what I'm seeing over time and evaluating those. I don't know if that's helpful, but I think that you will see that tool change from course to course the more you use it. What I did, I originally took the one the center offered in the PD, and I put I added beyond the number system where they could actually write qualitative comments about their peers, and I asked them to talk about strengths and weaknesses and communication, and I couched it in the terms of interprofessional education competencies, and you might consider doing that as to, you know, what were their roles, what were their responsibilities, rather than kind of making it an out-and-out assessment. Kind of look at specifics and give them a little more guidance. That might be helpful, get you some more less mixed results.
Take it away from personality and more on competency and skills.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Link them back to the purpose, or the link them back to the objectives would be one of my suggestions, and also what is it that, link them back actually into the team assignment. You know, what were those goals, what were the objectives, and have them speak to that. And then that way it's not a he said, she said kind of a thing.
All right, thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Great.
Dr. Bambas, Kathy here. I also worked with a professor who he gave the students group work to do at the beginning of the semester, which was really more just a kind of lower stakes thing where where you check to see how everybody does with it and get used to it and that kind of thing.
Yes.
And since we have these long semesters, there was plenty of time to do what he needed to do. And what this professor chose to do was, as you see the slackers, the people who just aren't pulling their weight in the group, he would pull them and put them in their own group.
You know what? You know, it's funny you should say that. I did that actually. I put 15 teams together, and I knew these 3 students from a previous course, and I put them all together, and none of them are doing anything.
Well, it's, you know, it's helpful because you don't want to pull down the other students who are doing what they need to do.
That's exactly true, yeah. And I have an interesting course this semester in that I had 12 students from 2 summer courses that I piloted, that I put them in this course, and I use them as mentors, and they are mentoring the other folks in the team. So you kind of have some natural leaders, so that often helps these team dynamics as well, because those folks are helping them with the Google Docs and being able to put the materials on and help read instructions and so on.
That's a great idea.
Using the that's why I'm talking about with learning from others, is the instructor doesn't have to do everything. You can make it in such a way when you're creating an assignment or anything like that, that you're bringing in those folks and you're thinking about that before you actually do it.
Well, and we also have the concern for English language learners, students with stated disabilities, that it would be great to be able to pair folks up to have a partner specifically to help with that.
Yeah, I have one student from this summer that I'm speaking about that I pilot these courses. Her writing she's a speaker from another language, and she couldn't write a sentence. And I mean, her work in 16 weeks has changed dramatically. I cannot even believe it, because we're giving them writing work. We're not giving them all tests, multiple choice. They have to be critical thinkers when they go out in the world, and they're given instructions as to what to do.
Well, that peer support, especially in the same generation, has been proven to be so effective with English language learners to have, you know, friends who will work with you.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea for another session. I could use some of that. You know, how does that work when you're when you've got a team and you have people from, you know, speaking different languages, and how can I help them support that in a different way? That's really a good idea.
Well, Mary and I are lovers of that topic.
Yes.
So,
So, Danny, can we go back to the presentation? Because we, unfortunately, we have to wrap it up. So, Thank you,
Well,
Dr.
Mary,
Bimdes.
excuse me, Mary,
Yes.
can you have them write their best practices
Yes, that's
and keep them online for another 5 minutes, even though we have to sign off?
okay.
Because I'd love to hear from them on what
Sure.
are some of their best practices.
So our next question was exactly that. Some of the best practices, some of what Kathy mentioned, what Davey mentioned, and what Dr. Bimdes just mentioned. If we could collect that, maybe we can work on the same Padlet. We will leave that document up. And if not, you can email to me your answers, your best practices. You can email them to idesign@fau.edu or your e-certification facilitator. But we will get those best practices. We will leave the Padlet up for that.
If I can help in any way, you're more than welcome to email me. If I can provide you with examples and that kind of stuff, you can reach me at jbamdis1@health.fau.edu.
So I'm writing it down. jbamdis1
health@health.fau.edu.
Okay. And maybe we could put a document together collaboratively from this presentation today. That would be awesome if we could do that.
Great.
So thank you so much again, Dr. Bimdes, for your wonderful insights and experience and wisdom in doing guiding your students and other learners like ourselves. Next week, we have another panel discussion. This time, it'll be on peer review. So we'll have a couple faculty members also, like today, sharing how they do it and why they do it. And then on November 6th, we'll have presentation skills, and this has to do with that idea of transformational learning, so creating change in your students with your presentations. On the 13th, we have another PD session on visual literacy, and then on the 20th, the theory behind the gaming trends. So stay with us for some more to come, more interesting conversations to come. And thank you again for all of you who came today to our PD session.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go check the Padlet and let's see if you guys want to leave your comments there.